In this series, you will learn how to model a realistic 3D human skull like this one without sculpting and by only using two reference images for creating a super detailed texture. You can even download these very reference images for free by going to blenderfrenzy.com and signing up for a freebies membership, which is useful if you want to follow along with the videos exactly. And if you want access to even more members only stuff like extra videos and the completed 3D Skull model for download, check out the Plus and Pro memberships. But this course is free and beginner friendly and goes at a pace that is fairly easy to follow along. However, I do assume you are already somewhat familiar with Blender or at least how to navigate in a 3D program. So maybe not necessarily for the ultra beginner. In this video, we will model out the shape of the main skull, so let's get started. Welcome to Blender Frenzy, I am Justin, and this is the third video in the skull basic modeling course. The first video we created the main head shape that you see here. The second video we created the top teeth, and in this video we will create the jaw that you see here. So let's get started. So I just hid my skull. Now let's grab our 3D cursor. I want to make sure this is in the right spot. Shift S, cursor to world origin, right there. Go into front view and let's go back over here. It'll be easier when we actually get something in here. Shift A, add in a mesh, plane. R, X to rotate on the X, type 90 and enter. Scale that down and bring that down on the Z. Let's add in a modifier. Go to the modifiers tab down here and add in a mirror modifier. Enable clipping. Hover over here, tab into edit mode. Select everything. Let's go into vertex select. So we've got vertex select, edge select, and face select. And you can also just do 1, 2, 3 on the keyboard, and I'll be doing that a lot. So 1, and then let's also go into X-ray mode, zoom in here a little bit, and now we can just grab everything. And now you can see with the clipping on, it will clip it here in the middle, and we're just going to place it like this. Grab these two, place them up like this. Take this one, move that up here like this. We're just doing the natural contour. I'm going to go back and forth here. Let's go into object mode and just pull this back on the Y just to line it up with the jaw. And then back into edit mode. Let's grab just these two here and pull those back on the Y like that. Okay, let's get the jaw shape going. I'm going to put a loop cut here, and that's Control R. You can also see my screencast keys here, obviously. But I'm actually not going to put it here. You would think that I would put it like right here. But what I'm going to do instead is put it somewhere about here. And I want to give room for this tooth. Make another loop cut, this time going this direction. And take this top one, X to delete that vertex. There we go. And now we have the general shape, which is not very good right now. It's not actually even a general shape yet, but we will fix that here. Bring this one down. Now, something I noticed with this jaw is that it doesn't quite match 100% the reference images of the front and the side. So we're not going to worry about being entirely accurate with the placement of everything. We can just get it in an approximate position. Okay, so I'm going to take these, move these over here, and just see where they would line up. Okay, let's take these two, pull them in, rotate them in a little bit like this, along the contour there, and maybe pull this one out just a little bit, just so that they looks like they match enough here. And maybe we can actually pull this one back a little bit like that. Okay, now the first part of this is very crucial. We want to make sure we line up the jaw as precisely as we can before we start extruding and adding a whole bunch of geometry. And the way we'll do this is line up the loop cuts with the teeth like we did with the top teeth. Before we start adding a whole bunch of them, let's just see what we have. So I'm actually going to undo this here. We obviously have 8 teeth, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then in the side mode, if we start counting from the back, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we only see 6 of them. which means that the 6, 7, and 8 are all on the same front plane here. These three are all on the front plane. So that's going to affect how we place our loop cuts. So for example, if I pull it over here, this loop cut is going to be it's going to be right up here. And I'm not sliding it, because if I slide it, it's going to move it in the front position also. So I'm just grabbing these 2 points and putting them here in side mode, and grabbing them and putting them where I want in front mode without sliding. Okay, so that's going to be on this side, but on the other side of that tooth, it's all going to be on the same flat plane right here. So let's do that first. So we're going to actually grab and move this here like this on this side of the third tooth. And then in side view, this needs to come all the way up here, because this is on the other side of that tooth. So this needs to come in, and this needs to go out to match the contour. Just like that. And if we go in one, and actually if we come out into perspective view, we can see that's what it needs to look like. So that's the most important step in all of this, to know where the jaw starts to curve, because it's not all that clear in the reference images. So let's go into 3, and now we can start adding them on the sides here. So we want one on the other side of the third tooth here. And go into front mode, make sure we grab and move it here. Again, we're not sliding it, because if I slide it like this, then it's going to move it back inside mode as well. And so we'd have to GG to grab to move that up again, and then we go back, and then it's moved over here. So just G to grab in front, and G to grab inside mode. So there we go. That's on this side of the third tooth, and same on the side. Okay, another one. We're going to do the same thing with all of the teeth in between. Make sure we just grab and move. So this looks all right. We can move some of these down a little bit, but like I said, it's not 100% accurate here. So for example, if I go down like this, in front mode, it's way too far. So we're just going to have to compromise here. It won't really matter all that much in the end. I think that is good enough. I'm going to slide this one actually back a little bit. Slide these along the contour so that these are a little bit more straight. Oh, and these need to come down. Awesome. Okay, good. Tab into object mode, and then I'm going to rename this to jaw. Shift D to duplicate this to make our backup, M, and then backups. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the first 2 videos. But I have a whole backups collection here with backups if I need to go back on something. I'm also going to save it. Okay, I'm going to disable our mirror modifier here for a moment and add in our subdivision surface modifier, bring that to the top, and then click this arrow once to get this 2 for our viewport. That way, outside of X-ray mode, in perspective, we can see this. We also want to get our shade going, our shade smooth. Tab into object mode, right click, shade auto smooth. I'm actually going to also come down here, and then where the auto smooth is, it's 30 by default. You can keep it that way, but I'm going to put 60 in here because I know that's for later on. That's kind of what I want. And come back here now. We can go here and press this button as well. Okay, let's go out of subdivision surface. Let's add some more geometry now. Now we're ready. Okay, in side mode here, let's go here. Let's grab this one and pull that out here, maybe something like that. I'm going to add in a loop cut here. Scroll my mouse wheel up until we get 4. And then I'm going to set those there. Let's do another one here to about right here where maybe the top of the tooth would be here. And then I'm going to put a loop cut here, slide that up like this, and one right here. So then we can start sliding some of these back here, grab these, move those back. Okay, and I'm not going to do anything here just yet. We'll wait until after we extrude our geometry, but I am going to pull these two down to something like that. There we go, good enough. I'm gonna duplicate this again because we're gonna start to extrude our geometry now. And I wanna make sure we have something to fall back on if we need to. Backups, okay. Okay. So let's go to face select mode, press A to select everything, E to extrude, but I'm gonna cancel this action. And instead, I'm gonna do Alt S, pull my mouse down, and that way it pulls everything out, kind of pushes it out along the normals. And this is different from extruding because if everything would extrude along the same axis, and now every face is extruding the way it's facing. And that's what we want. Okay, but let's clean up some stuff here. This is a little bit wonky right here. Go here, so something like this. And you know, this is actually also a little bit too low, I think. So let's go into X-ray mode. We're going to grab these top faces. Proportional editing, grab those and move those up a little. And then let's grab this one. And do we want to move that up? No, I actually think I'm going to pull these down in the back here a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. Pull this one in front down as well. Yeah, just kind of smoothing this out a little bit. We don't move them too much because we did already line them up pretty good. Yep, that's good. Like that. I like that. Okay, let's slide these here. Just make... Yeah, there we go. Okay, so here comes the most tricky part out of this whole thing is to try to get this little ridge here. You can see this little like on the side where the jaw kind of like twists here. So it's kind of you have your jawbone up here and then it kind of twists and makes this little ridge that comes down along the side. This was the hardest thing for me to do. And the solution I have is probably not the best one, but it's the only one that I can come up with that's really simple and fairly straightforward. It might be a little bit messy. I don't know. If you have a better way of doing it, by all means. But let's do it the way that I have figured out. So let's go into solid shaded mode here. And we're going to select these faces. I'm going to circle select these faces here. And then actually what we need to do is be in wireframe so we can see. And then I'm going to select these three and then these two. So this is kind of going along the contour of that. And we can adjust the placement of these edges in a little bit. But we're going to take these to inset them in just a little bit. And then we're going to come out here and do our Alt S again. And if I pull down, and actually let's not do that in proportional editing. Let's do Alt S, pull this, something like that. And let's see what that looks like. Before we do anything else, I just want to see what that looks like. But you can kind of see the effect that we're going for. We still have to adjust this a little bit here, but what I don't want to do is I don't want to move this edge here. I want to keep this straight. So let's take this one. I'm going to slide this up here like this. And then I'll take this edge and then move it up like this. And what we're looking for is to put this, yeah, like this along that side here. And so we can also bring these ones out. Just doing this actually kind of has to be done in, oh, I can't do that one. This one here, bring that out. Has to be done in perspective mode here because it's a little bit of an awkward angle. I'm going to grab these and slide those here too. Something like that. Let's see what that looks like here. Okay, that's not too bad. What I think I'm going to do to define this a little bit better is put an edge loop right here. And that way we can actually, first thing, I'm going to bring this out like that. And then we'll take these two and we'll pull them down a little bit. And now let's see what we have. Yeah, so we're starting to get this ridge here, but I want to drop this a little bit more. So let's just take, we'll take these two and we'll just pull them down a little bit like this. Let's actually go out here so we actually have a better idea of what's going on. I'm actually going to take these, also pull them down. Let's go here to line things up here. So I'm going to actually line all of this up with this. So take these, pull these down, and pull these down. Take these, slide those back. Okay, now let's see what we have. All right, here we go. So we're starting to get something here. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be like a 1-for-1, but this is a really good start. And then we have this. We can actually protrude that out a little bit more here. So I'm just take these and just slide those up a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. So that's kind of coming over that tooth a little bit more. And that's what we're trying to maintain this for the tooth so we can extrude the tooth up. But I think this is good. I think this is what we want here. And we can of course take you know, any of these edges or points, kind of pull them down a little bit and shape them a little bit more depending on how defined of a line you want. And you know, every skull is different, so you can define this however you want. This is a little too sharp here, so let's pull this one back a little bit more like that, and maybe pull it out too a little bit. Same thing here, just manipulating these two. Let's go into point mode. Let's do, okay, let's fix this down here too. Okay, so here I'm just gonna take these points, slide them out. Same thing, slide them out, and then same thing, slide these out. Because I don't want that like hard ridge looking like thing that's going down that way. Let's see what we can do about that. Yeah, I want to pull these down also. Because these technically are all on the bottom plane. That's getting better. It's still wrapping around, and I don't like that look. Okay. Okay, that's better. Spacing those apart seems to be doing the trick. Okay, yeah, that's a lot better. Awesome. Okay, let's, there's a little bit of a dent in there. Let's pull that out. Yeah, this here. Just bring that down, I think. And we can bring this in. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I like this. We're going to keep it like that. I am paranoid, so I don't want to lose work. You guys are probably cringing at the amount of backups I make. But that's okay. Okay, so it's a little messy, but not terribly messy. Not terribly messy. We can do some cleanup, of course. Make things a little less messy, more lined up here. Okay, yep, that's not too bad. I'm going to stop tweaking here. So, awesome. That is the most difficult thing, although we do have to recalculate our normals because when we actually extruded, and I forgot to do this, our faces flipped to point inwards, and we can see that by coming here to the face orientation. You can see everything is red, and that just means that the faces are facing the wrong direction. If we select everything in edit mode, Alt N, and then we can just say recalculate outside, and then everything is now pointing outside, which everything should be blue. So just make sure that is the case. Another thing that I also forgot, which we'll do right now, is to come in and take these faces and delete those faces. So you can see here, there's where all the red is now pointed inside, all the blue is pointed outside. Okay, now we are ready for the teeth, but let's get our viewport back up here. I'm going to take this one, move it. Actually going to take those three and grab those and move those in a little bit here. Rotate it a bit out so we're matching the contour here. And then I'm also going to take this and pull that in. We're going to have to adjust these as well, because that kind of goes in and back here. And that is, yeah, it's not a 1-for-1, but it's good enough start here to make room for the teeth. So let's come out here. We're going to select this range here, I to inset, and then if it is insetting all together, just press I again. That toggles back and forth between individual. And then I'm going to inset it. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? We forgot to add one more loop cut to the teeth here, because we have two teeth right here. So one more loop cut right here. There we go. Now we can take this range, I to inset those, and I'm just going to inset it. I'm looking at the smallest ones over here first, and then I'm going to stop, shift select those to deselect them, and then make sure we are in individual origins for our pivot point, and then we can just S to scale those in a little bit more. Something like that. I'm going to shift select those again, and then Alt S, and then move my mouse up to pull those up along their normals, just like that. And then E to extrude, and we're going to extrude those out. Now let's line these up, of course, with the teeth. That's actually pretty good so far, right there. Not too bad. Let's see what it looks like in subdivision surface, and it looks like an upside down cow's udder, which will change here shortly. But you can start to see the shape coming together. Okay, making my backup. You know, maybe one of these days I'll show you how I royally screw something up, and then I will have to use one of these backups, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's actually smart, even though it's excessive. Okay, coming back in here, we're doing all of this in increments, so we don't want to just add a whole bunch of geometry and start changing stuff. So we're adding geometry after we've gotten the basic shape fleshed out first, or in this case, there is no flesh because it's all bone, but you get what I'm saying. So here, we're just going to make sure I'm going to take these two, I'm going to press Control plus once to grab those, and then I'm going to go into proportional editing, so we move those here like that, back a little bit, maybe rotate them also a little bit here. And then we'll take these, no, just this one here for now. Control plus, and pull this down. Oh yeah, we should probably pull this one down also. And I like to select the whole tooth because if you just do the top, it might skew it. Wait, is this the third tooth? That is the third tooth. So the third tooth actually needs to be right up here with those. For these back here, let's see. I am gonna pull them out. So we're gonna select these here. I'm just gonna pull those back a little bit because these molars are a little bit bigger and we want to kind of cover enough area going on into the back. Perfect. Okay, saving it. Okay, let's come back out. Solid shaded mode. Let's get these top teeth here. Let's take these edges. Well, you know, let's do instead, let's take this and just line these up just a little bit better. Just rotating these back ones here to kind of flatten them out on the top, which we can actually also do with these here. Oh, again. Great. Okay, let's take these back ones now for the non-molars and slide them up like that. Good. Make sure that they are lined up. Oh, that's really difficult to see in X-ray mode, so just wireframe without X-ray mode will give you a better idea. Yeah. Let's do something now while we can. I'm gonna take this edge loop here all the way around, go into front mode, and then S to scale, X on the X, and then type 0, because that's where our mirror modifier is, and that needs to be flat so it doesn't produce any sort of bumps or grooves. Let's do the top here. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Pretty good. This is the best one I think I've done so far. I'm going to take this edge loop and just rotate that to get a better shape going there. And then take this and we'll pull this in a little bit. So this is good. Let's see what we have. All right. So we got the main shape of the teeth and the placement where they should be roughly. It's not a one for one, but it doesn't matter. So now we want to add some more geometry to shape the teeth and the, not gums, but where the teeth go in. So we're going to select these ones here. Control plus. And this selects a little bit too much over here, so I'm going to deselect these ones here. Yes. Okay. Now with these, we're going to right-click, subdivide, so we have more geometry to work with here, so we can shape the teeth a little bit better. And this is just like I did the top teeth, so I'm going to probably speed this up a little bit, but I'm going to do things maybe in a little bit different order, but it's the same concept. So I guess I'll just kind of show you with one. What I'm going to do is take this edge loop and then slide it over like this. We're going to do this, and then we're going to take this kind of gum line here, and just kind of, oh yeah, let's do Alt S to pull that. I don't want proportional. Pull that out just a little bit, and then maybe pull it up as well. Yeah, let's pull that up even more. Okay. Yeah, something like that. So then I can take these two, pull them down like this, because we're going to create that root hole line. Take this one, grab that and move that down a little bit like that. And then take this one and then double G to slide that down, and then scale in a little bit, and then just G, regular G, to pull that down in. So we're kind of creating that little hole that's going in. And then one more loop cut to define that area a little bit better. And then this is what we have. This is what it's going to look like with all of the rest of them. And maybe this back here is a little bit too big for the tooth coming out, so we can actually adjust that as well. Let's see here. Let's take. I should have done this before. I'm just kind of fixing stuff now. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, let's get the rest of these taken care of here. So you can see what we've selected, all the line. I'm going to tap G twice to slide those along there like that to bring them more in the front where they should have been in the first place. And this is why we do stuff before we start adding geometry. See all the stuff that I had to select. I wouldn't have had to select as much if I did this initially in the first place. Alrighty, now on to the next ones. I'm going to do the same exact thing I just did with this one on all the rest of them. Okay, so here we go. This is what we have so far. We're getting closer, and the shape is coming together pretty nicely, I think. So yeah, let's save this one. Let's start shaping out the teeth a little bit more. We can add in some more loop cuts. What I like to do, see for these, is we'll take these existing loop cuts here and we'll just slide those down just a little bit and then we'll add in another loop cut that defines, you can see that. Let's go out of subdivision. And that kind of defines the top here a little bit more. And then for these, we can actually pull these out because they're not entirely flat. So Alt S and pull those out like that. And you can see kind of what's going on here. Let's do this also, which again, I probably should have done this before, but what we can do is do it in proportional editing mode. We'll just rotate. Just gonna rotate these a little bit like that. Okay, I think it's good for these ones here. I'm not going to scale this one because of the clipping for our mirror modifier. We'll do that after. So let's work on the molars and then I think we should be done with the jaw. Out of subdivision surface, we can come over here. Let's circle select these faces here. I to inset. We don't want to inset individually, so I again to inset everything like this. Kind of small, but you don't want to cross. Be careful, don't go too far. You don't want to cross any of these other lines here. This is good. Edge select, gonna select these edges here. Proportional editing, G to grab, and then shrink this down really small. And we're gonna make sure we place them. Let's go into X-ray here. Yeah. Pull those down, something like that. And then we're going to do the same thing with these ones here. Oh, you know what? These, let's pull these two up because they should be more so. So these need to be more up like this. Just line those up here. And maybe I didn't need to use proportional editing on that. Oh well. But taking these edges anyway. Just shift selecting all of those, and then G to grab those and move those down a little bit. Like something like that. And let's see what we have here. Awesome. Cool. Those are pretty cool looking molars. We can also, they need to be fatter. We'll add another loop cut like we did before. So let's do this one here, this one, and then we'll take all of these, S to scale out, make those a little bit fatter. And maybe we didn't need those. So I'm gonna take these. We're just gonna X to dissolve edges there. Oh yeah, perfect. That's better. Okay, and let's line them up to where they should be here. Just kind of, we'll use big proportional editing. And then the front also, same thing. Just select a couple of these faces. Big proportional editing, and we're going to move those in, and you can see those are lining up really nicely. Even the back here is lining up really nicely. Let's select a face here and just pull that in, and maybe up here, and pull that in. Awesome, look at that. Okay, so I think we're just about done. So we have this. One thing that you could do if you wanted to is define some of these edges a little bit better without adding geometry. Now, we don't really need to because we've got a bit of geometry here. But for example, if you wanted to take these edges, just select this edge here, and then how's the bottom looking? Yeah, so let's say we want to take this bottom edge as well. And we want to define that a little bit more without adding geometry. So we can do that if we go into subdivision here and then N and item, this mean crease. So if we just select these edges and then increase this mean crease, you can see it actually starts defining that a little bit better. So there's a little bit more of an edge to it. Now it's not perfect. You can see it's not actually changing the geometry, it's changing the shade smooth. So it's telling the lighting how harsh of an edge this is. And you can see it's not uniform in all of this depending on how your geometry is. Of course, you can go all the way to 1, and then it's like a 90-degree angle, basically, is what that's treating that as, which is a completely sharp edge, which you probably don't want. And you can mess with some of these other stuff here. I haven't really. So edges, the mean bevel weight, I don't know if you adjust that, if it would make much of a difference. But I found like 0.3 works really well if you just want to make a, so the difference between 0.3 and 0, so that's nothing, and then 0.3 gives it a little bit more definition to where maybe the jaw needs. And you could even do something like that up here. Okay, so you can kind of see what I'm doing there, and that kind of defines the top there a little bit more, and we didn't add any geometry, just how the light is going to bounce off of it. I like this. Okay, perfect. So let's, of course, save, make our duplicate, and then we can enable our mirror modifier again, something like that. And we'll mess around with all of this a little. Actually, you know what? This is overlapping, it looks like. So let's go in here and disable this just for a second. We're going to take this edge loop and then make sure clipping is still on. Okay, and then just proportional editing, grab this and just start pulling that out a little bit to where it starts pulling it away so it's not overlapping, just like that. Okay, now we've got this, and now we don't have that little ridge in there, and that's nice and smooth. I mean, you can see a little bit of a ridge, but whatever. It's a skull. Oh, I lied. I forgot to do something. This looks okay, but we can make it look so much better. We're going to do one more thing. We got to make sure that we put the subdivision geometry flowing nicely into the rest of our geometry, and that is by doing this. We shift select these two and then shift select this one last. M to merge at last, just like that. You can do the same thing here. Select, and shift select. And then I'm also going to shift select this one, but make sure we shift select this one last. And then we can do shift R to repeat the last selection, which is merge at last. So I'm just going to do that with all of the rest of these here. So select these, this one last, shift R. So we're keeping all of these quads. So everything here is still a quad. I don't know if this is actually a good idea for a quad to look like that. Maybe it would be better just to have a triangle here. But I'm not going to mess with it. It's a little bit messy, but it all works out in the end, I think. Final thing then with these is we need to take these edges here, and then I'll do that one separately, but I'm just gonna slide them down like this. Slide them, oh, kind of go in the opposite directions here, so I'm gonna deselect that one. Slide these down, oh, same thing. Oh, there we go. Slide these down, S to scale, and like this, and then we're gonna pull them out a little bit. Actually, I'm not gonna pull them out, I'm gonna Alt S to pull them out like that. Maybe take the faces as well and do the same thing just a little bit, because that's really what I'm going for. Alt S to pull those out. Take this and this. Alt S to pull those out just a little bit. And that is what we have. And this is, oh, that makes it so much better, because we have the root where the teeth are going in, and we can even make that maybe a little bit more, bring this line down a little bit. So we have something that's like that. Yes. Okay, that looks a lot better. And now backup time, save. All right, and mirror modifier. We need to adjust that again. Here is our jaw, our finished jaw. And then if we add in the skull, it should match almost perfectly right up with that. And it does. Look at that. I mean, the teeth are overlapping just a little bit, but that's so easy to fix. Taking these faces and proportional editing, and we'll just pull those down like that. This will pull this out a little bit, and we need a little bit more defining here. So we'll take these and just pull those in. Uh-huh. Yes. All right. One last thing to fix, because this is not completely lined up with the jawbone, and also it's not completely lined up with the skull either, because the skull is not perfectly symmetrical. But what we're going to do is, in perspective mode, just take this and we'll just pull that in on the X and move that in. And it doesn't line up with our image, but we want to make sure that it is underneath here. It needs to be underneath this. This can come out this way because it goes in between that thing. And of course we can also even scale that in on the X to make that more thin to fit. Awesome. All right, we have finished the jaw. I'm going to make a duplicate of this and back up and go in here. I'm going to adjust this a little bit because this isn't as defined around the nose. So let's just take these two. I'm just going to slide those back. Maybe these three, and slide those back here like that, because that's not as defined. And then let's just also take these three and then GG to grab and slide those in. Yeah, that's more of how it is in the real world here. And we're gonna pull this one in a little bit as well. We'll do the same thing with this. Make sure that looks all right in this. Okay, well, we can do some more sliding here of these points. I want it to be more defined out here, so we do want to keep that out here. But it's around the nose that I don't think it needs to be quite as defined. Yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay, we are done with the modeling. Now I could come in here and get the bottom teeth, and maybe I'll do that later with our tweaking, but for now, this is pretty good. I like this. Let's, of course, make sure we have backups of each of these. All right, we are done modeling our skull, and the next step is to texture it, which we will do in the next video, so you will see me in the next one. You can find this video and a whole lot more by going to my new website, BlenderFrenzy.com, where you can access lots of free and members-only content, including extra tutorials, downloads, assets, blend files, Q&A live streams, and much more. Signing up helps support me, which in turn gives you more Blender content, so head on over to BlenderFrenzy.com and become a member today.